Hello, my name is Tatiana Lee, and I'm the Senior Associate of Entertainment and Media here at Respectability. I am a brown-skinned disabled Black woman with kinky curly hair and a puff, wearing a black top and a red jacket and wearing glasses. My pronouns are she and her. As an individual born with spina bifida and who uses a wheelchair, I've had the privilege of consulting on a variety of projects to help ensure accessibility and inclusion of people with disabilities on screen and behind the camera to ensure authentic representation of the disability experience, including on this project. This conversation will include a chance for participants Q&A at the end, and if you would like to view the ASL interpreter in a larger screen, we invite you to pin their video, which will spotlight the video throughout the entire panel. In addition, we have live captioning that is available in the Zoom app by clicking on the CC button or via web. We have posted the link in the chat box. We will be taking questions from you during the second half of the panel. Please add your questions in the Q&A box to do so. I recently had the opportunity of consulting on the show Team Zenko Go, a new preschool series from DreamWorks Animation, Mainframe Studios that will be available for streaming on Netflix starting tomorrow. The show follows a group of stealthy do-gooder kids who harness the art of distraction to perform anonymous acts of kindness for the residents of their town, Harmony Harbor. One of the show's main character is a boy named Ari, who also happens to be a wheelchair user. Ari is voiced by Hartley Bernier, an actor who lives with intestinal failure due to total Hirschsprung disease since birth, and also occasionally uses a wheelchair due to his chronic pain himself. Some of you have received a screener to see the first 2 episodes, and if you haven't received it yet, please contact watch@screeners.netflix.com, and you have until 11:30 p.m. Pacific Standard Time to watch it. If not, all good. You can start watching it tomorrow, streaming on Netflix. Today, we have several members of the creative production team with us, including Hartley, the actor who voices Ari, Jack Thomas, executive producer and showrunner, Karen Lloyd, series director, and Kirsten Sharp, disability consultant. Thank you all for being here with us today and discussing the importance of authentic casting and disability representation in children's media and more. I'm so happy to have you all here. Thank you so much for joining us. So, my first question is for Karen. You said earlier in the production team wanted a character in a wheelchair. Can you talk a little bit about the early decision that went into creating such an inclusive show? And what was the decision process like in including a wheelchair user in particular?
Yes. Would you like my description as well?
Yes, please.
I am Karen. I'm a Caucasian, we'll say middle-aged woman with wearing a black t-shirt. I have shoulder length purple and red hair, and I go by the pronoun she, her. Yes, I had to do some digging on this question because when I came on to the production, because the life of an animated cartoon can be very, very long. So things go into development, it could be years before it actually goes into production. So when I came along, we already had a character in the wheelchair. It was one of the different characters, which I can get to. So I did a little digging, and it seems in the early stages of development and writing with our development executive and the DreamWorks executives at the time, and they were working with some early writers, and they really were keen on having a very diverse cast among the 4 children. And I think it just came up in a meeting that, hey, this would be awesome to have this representation. And I think it just snowballed from there, and it just became, okay, this is what we're doing. So it's probably not the most exciting story, but when I came along, it was already there. When Jack came along, he already existed. So Ari was already there for me. So it's like, okay, let's, and then the change in the character happened along with casting, which I can get to later or whatever you like, but. Yeah,
Nice.
so I think that was the story. It was just, it came early. I think it was in even 2017 that it came up that this is one of the characters that they wanted to have in the show to have that representation.
Wow,
And
that shows you how long
something.
an animation project can often take. Kristen, Jack, do you have anything to add towards that question or anything from your perspective?
Hi, my name's Kirsten Sharp. I am a white woman wearing a white sweater with brown glasses and long strawberry blonde hair, and my pronouns are she, her. I was brought in about 2019, and at that time, I actually used to work at Mainframe Studios, so know a lot of the team, which was a good in. I've worked in production most of my life, and I also use a wheelchair full-time. I have for 31 years. So I have some experience on that side of the world as well. And I just want to say how thoughtful the showrunners were and DreamWorks and everyone in terms of developing Ari's character and how much research they did into the wheelchair, what his disability would be, because as we know, everybody's disability is different. And yeah, it was fun working with the team to come up with what his exact disability would be, how they would present it, if they would talk about it, if they wouldn't. It was great.
Hi, I'm Jack Thomas. I'm the executive producer. I'm a white guy with gray hair, gray glasses, gray shirt, and absolutely no fashion sense now that I realize how much gray I'm wearing. I'm in front of one of our animated backgrounds from the show. It's the control room. When I came on the show, Ari already existed as a character and was in the wheelchair. And I came from the How to Train Your Dragon franchise, where of course Hiccup is missing a leg and a lot of the characters are amputees. So it didn't even occur to me that there was anything different about having a differently abled character on the show. We made a decision early on when I came on board in the writing that we really weren't going to mention that he was in a wheelchair unless it was somehow really specifically necessary for a plot point. And as it turns out, it never was. So we just, he was just another kid on the show.
I love that. As a wheelchair user myself, I really appreciated how authentic he was created as a wheelchair user, and just, getting some of the early phases of it was really, really great. I was like, you could really tell the intentionality of how this project was coming along. And this next question is open up to anyone that wants to answer. And exactly to my point, I've really liked how Ari felt as a wheelchair user. In particular, he felt very authentic. What was the animation project like in terms of creating an authentic look and feel of the wheelchair and the way he moves within it?
I can touch on that. Again, the wheelchair design already existed when I came along too, but there was definitely, because of the action sense of the show and the kids being very active and stealthy and zipping around, that they wanted the wheelchair that, like, we've seen, like basketball, like the sports style wheelchair, and very fast. And so we wanted Ari to be cool and fast and very mobile. And the team, I think the design team, did a lot of research again before I came along, and that was the design they came up with. So I believe it's fairly authentic to what the real design is. We gave them a little pack on the back, that animation pocket, you can pull out kind of magic things, not magic, but pull out things that would never fit in that little pack. But that's what we call it. We call our animation pocket, someone pulls it out from behind their back, or Ari pulls it out, but we put a little pack on the back of his chair to say, well, that's where it came from. And the animators took a lot of influence from a YouTuber, Aaron Wheels, who does a lot of stunts. So that's hence the skate park became a big part of our thing with Ari, and doing stunts like that. So there was some research there. So we use influence and animation reference, because, okay, how do you balance on your hand when you do these things, this kind of thing. And I think our animation directors, I think they did a lot of research just for, because we've got YouTube, it's great. We can find so much reference, right? So the animators, I think I just got to go, just make sure it's authentic, the way you turn and the way you, the wheel, the hand position, and all that kind of stuff. We tried to be very conscious to make it look as authentic as possible, riding that line between authenticity, but it's still a cartoon. So sometimes we can go a little more fun and cartoony with things, like we do with our able-bodied kids as well, right? Like,
that's exactly right. We didn't want it to be the magic wheelchair that could do things that real wheelchairs couldn't. At the same time, as Karen said, you know, it's the animation pocket is something every character has, that reach behind the back and come up with something that really couldn't fit in your back pocket. So we wanted to give him the same capability. And when he was in costume, you know, the kids in costume jump higher than they really could in real life. So we felt we had some creative license there with how he did things. And but it was authenticity was really important to us, that it looked like all things that could probably be done in the real world.
Nice. Kristen, as a fellow wheelchair user, I would love to hear your thoughts on that process.
Yeah, I actually was the person who helped them design the wheelchair, so that was kind of fun. And they really wanted it to be fantastical, yet also real world. So I don't know if there's any real wheelchair users out there, but there's a wheelchair called Carbon Black, and there's a new wheelchair coming out by Kushal. I don't know if it's been released yet, but it's very futuristic looking, but exists in the real world. So we really took an everyday wheelchair user, mixed it with some sport wheelchair aspects, and then talked about what he would and wouldn't be able to do, and designed his injury level around that too. So he's a lower level paraplegic, so he has the use of his stomach muscles, unlike other people. So he would be able to get away with doing those fantastical elements. And we went back and forth on the design, making sure that it would fit that cartoony feel, but would also fit that authenticity, because I'm sure, as also you, a wheelchair user, you watch all these TV shows and you're like, they would never wheel around in that. And the importance of that for me is teaching the world what someone who uses a wheelchair is capable of. Otherwise, you get questions when you're out on the street that are just like, oh, you can push yourself, or you can do this. And yeah, you know how it feels. It's just that feeling of, well, I wish there was something representing it in media that was accurate. And I think that Team Zenko Go did such a great job of it. And the animations, I got to look at all of the script that came through, and then all of the animatics, which are before they start animating, and what he would be able to do, and which way the wheels would go and turn and flip. And yeah, super fun.
Yeah,
I love
there's
that.
actually a scene where we have him climbing the rock wall,
Yeah.
and we looked to make sure that was something that could be done.
Yeah.
And I think didn't we even design the rock wall with an overhang?
Yeah,
And we changed the design of the rock wall so that it would be more realistic. Look, your design of the wheelchair was great, and Karen's team was so careful in trying to make it seem realistic, but also fun and fantastical, right? You know, because it's an aspirational show. So I was very proud of all the people who did that work.
Nice. You should be. I think it all came out really, really great. And I was like, Kristen, you and I can probably compare and have all kinds of conversations with different ways people assume people move in a wheelchair and how it maneuvers and how it looks and stuff. So definitely experienced that. So our next question is for Hartley. Hartley, was Ari a fun character to voice, and what was your favorite part about it?
I'll start off with my description really quick. My name is Hartley Bernier. My pronouns are he, him. I am a white young male with dark blonde hair. I'm wearing sort of a khaki colored shirt, and I am sitting on a couch in my living room. Ari was a really fun character for me to voice. This being my first professional acting job, this was really a dream come true for me. And I think that Ari was really the perfect character. He's everything that I would want to play. We have so much in common. We both like comic books and superhero movies. We're both medically complex. Me having to use a wheelchair for my chronic pain, me having an IV pump and an ostomy bag, and him needing to be in a wheelchair. And I think that we don't let those things get in the way of our goals. And so I think, playing Ari was so much fun because he's somebody who I aspire to be in my daily life.
I love that. I was like, yeah, every person wants to be able to like play their own, like very close to similar type superheroes. So that is so cool to hear. I actually recently worked on my first voiceover project in last year too. So it's really, really fun, especially when you get to be as animated as you want. And it's like you can just lay it all out and be fun, and it's a lot more malleable than live action. So it's quite fun. So I'm glad you enjoyed it. Kristen, can you talk a little bit about your experience working as a disability consultant on the show? You talked about it a little bit, but I would love to know what process you were brought in on, and how was that process for you going forward? I know you touched on it a little bit, but we'd love to hear more.
I was just really excited that DreamWorks, Mainframe, everyone was taking the time to take a step back and say, let's not do this as tokenism, let's do this properly. And to reach out and say, how can we do this properly? And watching Ari's character evolve was just so much fun. And seeing how everyone learned. I truly believe that if you've never met someone in a wheelchair, or if you've never met someone who is blind or has something that is not what you have. I mean, I even recently started wearing glasses and I was like, whoa, man, these things get dirty all the time. It's just something different that you don't have that experience with. And it's really a great opportunity to take that and teach someone, and then them learn how to do it themselves, and watch Karen's team just, use the reference videos, ask the questions, and be thoughtful about that process. And animators are also actors, and they're giving that character movement, and then you hear Hartley's voice with it, and it's just like, wow, this is so cool and so great to see such a cool character and watch the team learn.
Nice, thank you. I love hearing how intentional this project was, and just the buzz that's starting to create around it. And I have high hopes for this, and I think the proof is in the fact that you took the intention to create this character and be really as authentic as you possibly can. And I think this is definitely an example of a best practice. And so it's really been great. And yes, if anyone has any questions that they have for people in the audience, anyone listening in have any questions for our panelists, please get them in the Q&A. And yeah, so we're going to the next question, which is for Jack and Karen. I really enjoyed how the entire group of kids in Team Zenko Go at its core is just a group of diverse kids problem solving together, helping each other, and having fun. Why was it important for you to show this type of inclusion in a preschool age show?
Well, I'll just say from my own life experience, when I was a kid, I went to a pretty much all-white school, and then when I went to college and I was around a much more diverse people, a group of people, I realized, oh my gosh, these people, we have so much in common. And I think if we would get that diversity in at a younger age, right? If you start when they're 5 and 6 years old and show diversity and show that people can work together. And that's one of the big elements of the show, is that it's about teamwork, right? It's about working together, and it's about the idea that you can, even when you work together, disagree with each other, but at the end of the day, you're still all friends. You're still on the same team. You figure out how to solve things. And my life experience has been, I just wish I had a more diverse childhood. I would have been a broader horizon person earlier in my life.
Yeah, I agree. Just having that, like normalizing it for kids watching it, that, even I like our pilot episode is Ari coming to town, but none of the kids blink an eye about the chair or ask him any questions, or it's just, oh, hey, cool. Okay, you're new in town. Then it came all about, the team and the mission. Like it wasn't about we don't even really delve into too much of the personal lives of all the kids. It's just they're there for the team, for the mission, and we deal with the here and now. And I think that was cool. Like I forget that Ari's wheelchair, and I think I hope people watching almost forget, like it is, but you know, he's just Ari to me. Like, and we focus so much on personality that he's always cool and he loves inventing things, and you know, so all the kids have their little quirks. Like one of the girls is a little mini encyclopedia, and you know, these kind of things. Like they all had their little strengths to give, and I just think just normalizing it that hey, we're all just trying to do one thing, that all the kids were just trying to had one main goal, was to, you know, bring some kindness and, you know, to the town. And I think hopefully it's a nice message, and then just to normalize a very diverse group of children as well, that hey, we're just all people and doing our thing, and let's do some good in the world kind of thing. So
well,
Yeah.
and I think one of the fun things about the way we introduce Ari is he moves to town, and in a day he figures out something nobody else in the town has figured out, right? In a day he has figured out that there's a secret team doing good deeds, and then in the second day he catches them, and then we immediately establish this kid is at least their equal, right? But then you go on and you realize, oh, he doesn't know how to do teamwork, so there are things he needs to learn too. And that's one of the great things I love about the pilot. It just establishes right out the bat, this kid rocks, you know.
He does. It was so cool. And I think Karen, you hit something. It's just like normalizing that. I think is so important, not only for non-disabled kids to see that, oh, that guy's in a wheelchair, he's cool, you know, like he's fun, and you know, and think of, you know, oh, I could have someone join my club, or you know, my friend group or something like that. And you know, just because he has a wheelchair doesn't mean he's not able to participate. And then also on the flip side is seeing that representation of someone else who is a wheelchair user. I think that's so important to be like, oh, I can make friends, I can have other interests, and I can engage with other friends. And I think that's something that's so important that I myself did not have growing up. So to be able to see it now as an adult, like my inner child just comes out so much.
that's so great.
Definitely. Anybody else has anything that they wanted to add before we go on to the next question? And we have a slew of questions coming in, so I can't wait to get to those.
I just want to add that not only is it important for most of kids, but it's also really important for kids that have disabilities to have that ability to look up to someone that is like them. It's not often that you see that in media, and it's a really cool opportunity to say like, hey, they're just like me. And as you said, redefining that normal.
Yeah, I love that. So next question is, and this came in from the chat, and someone said, were there any particular organizations that helped the most in sculpting the character of the series?
I don't know, Kirsten, was there?
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a Kirsten.
Yeah, I don't know if there, I know in casting, we reached out to organizations because there wasn't a lot of actors, children in the age group and all that. So it was a very small, you know, it was going to be hard to find authentic casting. So I believe that we reached out to some certain organizations that may have that. And then it was, okay, like who, because there wasn't a lot of acting agencies that had, you know, what we were looking for. So we, so I think that was part of it. I don't remember the name of the organizations, unfortunately. But I think that's how things led to, yeah, having our pool of actors to choose from and to see who, then finding the talent within that pool. So I don't know if there was anything else, Kirsten, to add to that, but.
No, I think just some, I mean, I have connections with local organizations like Spinal Cord Canada and BC Wheelchair Sports, lots of kids that, young kids that play sport. I'm not sure how Hartley was found in the end though.
So I think Hartley, you had done something for an organization, had you not? Like a commercial or something?
Yeah, I've done a lot of volunteering for Sick Kids Hospital over the years. So lots of commercials and stuff. So I had experience in that field.
Hey, awesome. So Another question. Are there any plans to add any additional disabled characters to the show to show the diversity or intersectionality of disability?
Gosh, that's I'm not allowed to talk about the second if any possible seasons other than this one.
Oh,
So I will
good.
just
Whatever
say
you can
that
share.
I will say I can't say anything. I guess we have a very diverse world we live in. That's all I can answer.
Yeah, because this season is done, right? So I would say if that opportunity came up, I'm sure we'd be open
Yes.
to that for sure.
Right.
But we just don't know what the future holds. The season's done, the
Mhm.
episodes are finished at this point, but pretty much Hartley was the only one in this season. Yeah.
Right.
Nice. Awesome. Cool. Okay, so we have a question that came in. How are you hoping to expose kids to diversity who may not be seeking it out? Was a question that came in.
Well, I think you just present it, right? Here's a show that you love, and look, the characters are diverse. It's sort of, it's the same thing Marvel does, right? There's diversity in there as well. So I think if you just show kids being kids and they see the diversity, I just think they soak it in. The kids do, and it just becomes second nature to them that way. So hopefully we win them over with the fun and the action, and maybe they learn a little bit about we're all sort of the same along the way.
Definitely.
Yeah, so I think the intention of the show wasn't to build it around Ari. It was built around, Yuki and the truck and the missions and then Ari just happened to be, so I think it's just, again, normalizing it and just showing it that he's just one of the kids and this is cool. And they treat him as such and we treat him as such. I think that was the main goal.
Yeah, I love that. That's
fun
so
show.
important.
And the characters just happen to be, right?
So it seems like children's media is particularly forward thinking when it comes to inclusion. What about the genre makes it so effective in telling these stories? And I would love to hear this from all of you. Any insight or thoughts you all would have.
Oh, that is a good question. I think, kids at an early age are sort of open books, right? So you have a chance to just show them what a kinder, gentler world is, and for them to go, oh, this is the world I want to live in. And so I think that's why it's easier maybe in younger kids' television to try to imprint on them the idea that there's nothing strange about diversities, and people's differences are actually 99% of the time their strengths, right? And we do that in this show. Each character has their own strength, and so I guess that would be my answer if that made any sense.
Yeah. And I think just the nature of producing animation as opposed to producing live action, like live action having a child in a wheelchair hanging off a climbing wall may have a lot more things to take into account, like, with just things you can do in animation that you can get away with that live action could be a lot more difficult and challenging with legalities and insurance and things like that. So there's that thing of, you're slightly you can be out of reality, but again, like we said, we walk that line of reality and fantasy cartoon. So I think you can just have a little more fun in animation and go out of that reality. You can go to different worlds and all this kind of thing.
Right.
So I think it's just probably easier to incorporate, more diverse characters in animation as opposed to live action. There may just be a few more legalities and limitations, and it shouldn't be, but yeah, hopefully. But And I think getting to the young audiences, like Jack said, is a good idea.
Yeah. I feel like with animation, it's just a way to dive into all of it and just be as radically inclusive as you want it to be, because you're literally building a world from scratch. So I think that's so awesome.
Exactly.
So we have a question in for Hartley. Why do you think it's important for everyone, especially kids, to see a character like Ari on TV? And what are some projects you would love to work on in the future?
So I think that it's really important for children to see characters like Ari, because, being exposed to, people who are different at a young age can really make it a normal thing. And if, if everybody understands that, we are different, but we're so similar in so many ways, then I think that we can get rid of a lot of the problems in the world. So, I think just people seeing that Ari is a kid at his heart. He is a kid. Just because he is in a wheelchair doesn't change the fact that he wants to be a superhero. He loves superheroes, and yeah, and I would say that I'd love to work with Jack and the team again, because this was a really truly an amazing experience, and I'd love to do it all over again.
How about, do you see yourself possibly doing any live action anytime soon?
I would be open to it. I'm always open to new experiences, and that sounds like something that could be super fun.
Nice. All right. I would love to see you in live action someday. So I'm going to be watching out for that. I'm gonna definitely keep you in mind if anybody hits me up and looking for somebody that you fit.
Thank you. Much appreciated.
So another question that came in, it says, they're thrilled that the life and personal authentic experience is being considered and hiring the best talent for the job. And they said, thank you. They were wondering what proactive steps are being taken to promote the same ideology regarding roles and characters that have non-visible disabilities. So maybe in regards to something that you may be thinking about in the future, maybe this could go to Jack. Any projects you're thinking about of exploring non-visible disabilities? Everybody just wants all kind of disabled characters.
Right. So what's a non-visible disability? Give me an example.
So a non-visible disability is a disability that you can't see. So like ADHD, dyslexia, anxiety, things like that, autism, things that you can't see or know from looking at a person right away.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I think there's certainly, my wife casts in live action, and I know in live action they're doing a lot of that. I'm not sure in animation. I guess we could. I don't know why we couldn't put characters in. I just wonder if how we would get it across, or maybe we don't have to get it across to kids what's going on. I have to really think. I would really have to think this through. I'll just be really honest. I have not really considered how to do it and how to do it in the correct way. It sounds like I would have to get some education before I included a character, because I don't want to guess at it and get it wrong. So I'm just saying, I think you could probably do it. Just remember, animation is a very visual medium. So you're going to have to find a way to represent these non-visual disabilities in a way that's respectful, but that also tells the audience what they are, right? So yeah, boy, man.
Give us a call. We can help you with that.
Okay, good. If I do it, I will definitely give you a call.
So next question is, what would you say to those in the film and TV industry who want to better understand the physical disability experience? So maybe I'll throw this to Kirsten and Hartley.
Hartley, you go ahead.
Sorry, could you repeat the question really quick?
Yes, it says, what would you say to those in film and television industry who want to better understand the experience of having a physical disability?
I would say, it's difficult. But I think that, we need to have more people who do have physical disabilities on TV. And I think, don't count us out. We can act just as good as other people. And I think that that's something that would be really important, because you don't see a lot of people with disabilities who are portrayed correctly. And I think that's because a lot of people are scared to cast people who are actually disabled. So I think that if we can do more of that, then we'll have really, really amazing fleshed out roles. So yeah.
Nice. Hartley, you have quite the fan base coming through right here. We have another question for you. Do you have any advice for kids who want to get into acting, or any advice for casting directors, producers, or directors who are working with actors with disabilities?
I'll start with kids who want to get into voice acting. I would say, start off by practicing. I think practicing in any little way you can. Maybe you have a friend who's doing a stop motion animation or something, and just getting in front of a microphone and doing voices. I think that the best thing for any job is to just practice. And if it's something that you genuinely want to do, talk to your parents, maybe get them to contact a professional and have a conversation with them about what you'd want to do, what your limitations are. And I think, this is something that it's a career, and it is a serious job. So it can be difficult, but at the end of the day, it's in my opinion, one of the most rewarding and fun jobs in the world.
Awesome. Thank you. No, that's great advice. And thank you for sharing that. I myself, as also a fellow disabled actor, I would give the same advice. Just, practice, and, like you said, find ways to connect and do things, collaborate with other people, and just put yourself out there. Start with, reading, looking at scripts that you can get your hands on, reading books, doing poetry, all different type of things that you can find ways to perform and work on your voice, and just, developing characters and stuff, I think is a great thing. So thank you, Hartley. We still have a little more time. And so if anyone else has any other questions they would like to throw in the chat box to ask all of our panelists, let's see. Let me check here. We have some more questions coming through. This one says it's for Hartley and Kristen. You mentioned it's hard/challenging to cast characters with disabilities. What is so challenging, and why do you think it's hard?
Do you want to go, Hartley?
I think, yeah, I'll go first. I think it's difficult because a lot of people, I think that people tend to underestimate what people like us can do, and I think that it's not necessarily, we're going to do an amazing job, and I think that there might be some challenges, but overall I think there's lots of people out there who are disabled and who are willing to work. So I think if people can just not underestimate us and realize that we can do just as good a job, if not better, than other people, then we'll be able to get past that.
Yes, I agree. We are all very capable of doing the work. It's sometimes you just got to give the person that shot. So it's, yeah, if I would have one thing to the powers that be, it's like, give disabled performers a shot. Like you said, we're capable of doing it better, the same, if not better. So, yay. Let's see. Another question came in. Okay, it says Shaylee was recently credited as a voice actor on Madagascar a little while. So there are definitely opportunities for non-speaking folks or folks who use ASL to work as voice actors. Yeah, so I wanted to say that because we had a question of someone that asked about being nonverbal and doing voiceover acting. So yes, that is an example. Recently, Shaylee Mansfield did Madagascar a little while, and she's the first person being credited by as a voiceover credit where she didn't speak. They actually used her ASL, her signing, and so she got a voiceover credit for that. So that was super, super cool. Nope, all good. So that was just an example of doing voiceover without having to use your voice. So which I think is a great example in how disabled performers are trailblazing away within animation, which I think is so cool. We have another one come in. This is for Kristen. Any ways this project was different than others you've consulted on? Oh, in what ways was this project different than projects you had consulted on in the past?
I think depending on what the particular disability is, you have to approach it from that person's point of view and ensure you're being authentic representing that particular disability. I think one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that every single disability is so different, and there are so many of them, and we all differ. In particular, though, I think you approach them all the same. You just have to have them shown as a normal person, and Team Zenko did that so well with just integrating Ari. No one needed to know why Ari used that wheelchair. He just did, and he just is a person. And I think with the other shows that I've helped with and in my production work that I do every day, we just have to show people with disabilities as people in roles that they normally have: wife, sister, mother, brother, father, daughter, grandfather, and ensure that we are casting those roles for those particular people. Instead of casting the person in the wheelchair, we are casting the friend, we are casting the mom, we are casting the brother, we are casting the kid. And that role can be played by someone with a disability. It doesn't have to be written for someone with a disability. And I think that even though Team Zenko made the conscious decision to include someone with a disability, it simply was just a friend and a member of that group.
I love that. And I think that is so important. Often in the trainings that I do and the conversations I have with people, trying to get them to understand disability representation. One of the things I always say, I'm an aunt, I'm a best friend, I'm a daughter. I love all these different things. I love to shop, I love to travel, and I love fashion and beauty, but none of those things have to do with my disability. My disability, is involved in me making all those things happen, but they have nothing to do with my disability. So thinking about it like that. And I think oftentimes, to your point, they don't think of it that way. Oftentimes it is, oh, the wheelchair user here or the woman in a wheelchair there. And it's like, no, it doesn't have to be that way. So I'm going to pose this. Oh, go ahead.
Sorry.
Go ahead.
To that point, I would say we made this whole show during COVID, and we made the whole show working from home. And I think that also has opened up that, hey, yeah, we can do this. And Hartley, he recorded in Toronto. Like if it wasn't COVID, we probably would have flown him out for a couple of times, but he still would have had to work remotely. And now with all the remote work, I think there's even more possibilities for everyone to get it, even artists in the animation industry, like disabled, if more studios are open to working from home, if that's easier for you, you know what I mean? Like, so I think this could also show that, hey, we can do this, from home, and, more opportunity for voice actors. And I think for that representation is like, if you want to act, learn to act. Like, it won't matter if you're in a wheelchair. If you have if you're a good actor, so you don't want to just be cast, because there is very authentic casting going on. So be in the pool then, like for those casting directors, like, oh yes, we've got quite a few people that happen to be in wheelchairs or happen to have this disability, but they're really good actors. So it's like, that's what we really want in the voice casting. So when it's not there, then we have to go searching, right? And then give training. So if you want to do it, find a way to, like now there's more online courses, there's a lot, so take an online voiceover, and then you're in the pool to be chosen from. And then, then someone that if we don't see them and they happen to fit the bill, they can play the mom and they happen to have a disability. It won't matter because they were the best choice for the role, because it's the voice and, this kind of thing. So it's, getting that, because we still want the best performer, because as Hartley said, it's a job. It's not just fun and games. Like you have time limitation, like there's all these things and techniques and things that Hartley picked up on and did fabulous with. And but more opportunities I think have opened because of COVID. And, but if that's what you want, I think more opportunities will, because you can get the training and you can do a lot more from home or from more possibilities than having to travel. All of us, we don't want to travel.
Yeah, I agree.
Hopefully it turns out to be a good thing.
Yeah, no, I agree. Oh, I was just gonna say, to your point, training and auditioning has become a lot easier with COVID, because you can do it on Zoom or attend classes, and it's been so much more accessible. So Jack, go ahead. What were you gonna add?
I'm just going to talk about how great Hartley was, and how he basically recorded the show from a closet in his house, and how that didn't stop him. And his parents should get a medal, because his dad would be the sound engineer and would reach in, you'd see his dad's hand go in and adjust a setting. And it was very inspiring. He really did sort of embody the positive spirit of the show, of if you try hard, you can do anything, because he was not an experienced voice actor. And voice acting is tough. It's not like being on camera. I know there are a ton of, I'm sure Karen, you in your experience too, ton of really good on-camera actors who cannot voice act to save their life, because it's a different skill set and you have to be so expressive. And Hartley really started from scratch and learned to do it. And I mean, it's sort of to me, it was always fun to work with Hartley, because he was always just so energetic and upbeat, and he really does embody the spirit of the show. And I just can't rave enough about this young man and the great work that he did.
And
maybe that's a little off topic, but I just want to say,
and give a little kudos. Our voice director Nicole Oliver worked with Hartley, and I think he had a blast doing it, if I may speak for you, because she's a lot of fun, and she really helped him find his authentic actor. And I think you guys did really great together. So
I appreciate those compliments very much. That means a lot to me.
And shout out to makeshift sound booths within the house. That has become a thing with COVID. I did the same thing, and it's like just finding a space, and it's like, you know what, we're going to make this work. And that's where you get creative and innovative. And I'm just one of those people that I love getting innovative to be creative. And so it's so fun. So if you want to do voice acting, try to make your makeshift soundproof room. I did my closet, where my closet had like clothes, and so it like helps with the sound. And easy, just grab you a mic, different type of mics, and just make it happen. So you had a lot of fun doing that, Hartley.
Yes, it was an interesting experience, but it was a lot of fun.
Nice. Do you have any other tips and tricks that you found trying to record at home?
Lots of comforters lined up on the walls of a closet make for a very good makeshift booth. So that is one thing that I definitely learned.
Nice. Awesome. So I have a question, and I think maybe this question will be thrown at Jack. And you can say as much as you want or not, but folks want to know, are there any other shows at DreamWorks or anywhere else that you would be working on that may have some other disabled characters? Are you thinking about it? Are you like still toying around with it, or you just in the early stages? Folks want to know.
Yeah, I don't. I'm not on a show at DreamWorks right now, so I know inclusiveness is really important there, and you know, I'm guessing that if I do get another show at DreamWorks, we will probably have differently abled characters, but I'm not on a show, so who knows? Who knows where I'll end up?
Awesome, awesome. So we have about another 10 more minutes. So if anyone has any last minute questions they want to get in the meantime, I will ask each of you, just any last words, anything you want to add or say that you didn't get to touch on. This is the time. So I will start out with Karen.
I don't know. What else? Some solutions. Yeah, I had a few little notes. I don't know. I've already said it, that it was fun. I think it was probably fun even for the animators to do something that was a little different, that they had to do a little research for, and find that it was because it's not something you animate every day. So I think it was probably really cool for them as well, because the work we're getting back, and go, hey, that looks great, that looks real. They're doing the research, and so it's always nice to up those challenges, and having that research and authenticity, I think is really cool. So kudos to my team for rising to the occasion and and making Ari just Ari. He was just one of the kids. Like, again, I just see him as one of the kids, and he, again, with his own distinct personality, like all of them did. Like he was funny, but he was smart, but he wasn't like a robot. Like he was just human, right? He's just, all the kids were like that. They have their little, goofs and saying something ridiculous and that kind of stuff. And so we just treated Ari the same as everybody else, and hopefully it paid off. I just hope that we did that community, like people are happy with it. I just hope we did okay. that it's represented in a positive way. And that was our goal. So I hope we achieved it.
Nice. I enjoyed the first couple of episodes that I saw. So I'm totally a fan. So in my opinion, I thought it was executed great. So how about you, Kristen? Any last thoughts or anything else you want to say before we close out?
I just hope that more and more teams decide to represent characters with disabilities authentically and take a page from Mainframe and DreamWorks books, and continue to create real world examples for people to learn and look up to.
Nice. Thank you. How about you, Jack? Any last words or anything you want to say or add before we close out?
Well, I was just thinking about it, when we were writing the scripts, I don't think we just treated him like another character, and then trusted that animators to do the work, the artists. And Karen did an amazing job. Her team was so into authenticity and getting things correct that, we just wrote him as another kid. I mean, he evolved over the show to pretty much be the smartest of the kids, and he was, he was the inventor, and it was almost to the point that we were making him a little too perfect, so we had to ding him up a little bit near the end, give him a couple of foibles. But it was a fun experience for me too. Watching a lot of the videos to sort of prep that Wheels guy was just amazing, So you started thinking about what the capabilities of the character were, not the limitations, when you see that stuff. It was really a fun experience. And Hartley was a great kid to work. Hart. You like to be called Hart.
Yeah, I don't really mind, but Hart is my go-to nickname.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, Hart. Sorry, Hart.
No worries.
So
One
we
last
part-
thing,
Oh, go ahead.
having Ari as one of the characters made us very conscious for designing the environments, actually, because we wanted everything to be wheelchair accessible. Like, so there's ramps into the community center, there's a ramp at the back of the truck. So it made us more conscious of designing the world. And I think that was really important, whether we had that character or not. It probably should be designed that way, right? Like whether you see those characters on screen or not. So I thought that was something that really made us conscious and made us aware. So I think that was really good for the team overall and the design team as well. So that was just a little extra thing.
I love that. I love that. Yes, very intentional. And I love that you recognize that, which is so great. With that, last but not least, Hartley, do you have anything you want to say or add before we close out?
Yeah, I would just like to say, first of all, thank you for having me on here. This was so amazing. And yeah, I would just like to say, playing Ari was so much fun, and it was truly an honor to be able to use my voice and make that be him. And I would also say that I hope to see more differently abled people and people with disabilities on screen and being casted for things. I think that is really important, and it'd be really cool to see more people like me on TV. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. Thank you so much to Jack, Karen, Kristen, and Hartley. This was such a great conversation. This webinar will be available on our website and social media to watch again. And we're so excited to be seeing the upward trend of an authentic representation. And thanks again to the folks at DreamWorks and Mainframe Studios for this wonderful series. Don't miss Team Zenko Go, streaming on Netflix starting March 15th, which is tomorrow. And I hope you have a great rest of your day. Thank you all for joining us.
For more information, visit www.respectability.org.